three
I
bullets.
started recording.
Okay, there we
Oh.
go. Ah, confidence rears its head.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the performance accountability work group. I hope you all got the message, that I sent out last week. Is the big thing that has happened recently is that we had our DOL to state negotiations. So in this meeting, I will talk about that, our experience with that, and then I'll hand it off to Tarye, and he will talk about the local SAM model, the local statistical adjustment model, and he's also developed some tools to help you better understand that. And then lastly, Coral will kind of walk you through the negotiations process going forward, so you can kind of think of it as the ghosts of past, present, and future in a sense. But before we jump into all that, I just kind of want to take a rough roll call to see if all areas are accounted for, so we can get in contact with folks who aren't. So for starters, is there anybody from Olympic here? Olympic WDC, WDI?
Yeah, I believe I'm Bill Dowling, I'm director. We also have Lucy Bench and Alyssa Durkin
Okay.
on, so our whole team is on.
I think that counts. How about Pack Mountain? No Pack Mountain. Northwest.
Melinda and Marissa are both here.
Okay. Snohomish.
Jack Chapman.
Okay.
for
King,
some-
Seattle King. No Seattle King. Tacoma Pierce.
Autumn is here, and I think Josh will be joining us shortly. He's in another meeting right now.
Okay. Southwest.
Yes, Carrie Tallender, Southwest.
Okay. North Central.
Yeah, Lisa, Susan, and Aaron are here.
Okay. South Central.
Yes, Miranda Smith is here.
All right. Eastern.
Hey, Dave, it's Rod.
Hey, Rod. Benton Franklin. I think we know someone's here for Benton Franklin, right?
Cynthia Garcia is here, and I believe Jesse Cardwell as well.
Okay. And Spokane, we also know you guys are represented, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Jim Robinson, Spokane.
Okay. Before we jump into this agenda, let me start up our we do actually have a PowerPoint. Can y'all see that?
Yeah, we see your desktop and the file that's open.
Okay. How's that? A little better?
Yep, that brought up the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. So any questions or any other agenda items folks want to add to the agenda? Okay. And
you need to
go ahead.
advance the slide so
Okay.
we can see the agenda.
Good point. Thank you. How's that?
Thanks, Dave.
Sure. So anything any folks want to add to that? If not, we'll jump into that. I'm going to start talking about the Department of Labor to state negotiations. Hopefully you all got I sent out the letter last week, the official letter of the negotiations that we landed on. And if you didn't get that, just let me know. In addition, the negotiated levels are now built into our graphs that we put up in our website, whereby you can see how the state's doing, how local areas are doing for the different titles 1 and 3 programs. So you can also see it there. Generally speaking, just so background on it, the meeting actually occurred on May 30th. It included I don't know if a lot of folks probably know Carol Padovan was there. Lorraine was the person that did most of the negotiations. We also had our new quote unquote Teresa Tace. Her name is Blanca Bonilla. She'll be our main Region 6 Department of Labor contact, and she was there as well. Our team here was on that call, as was our director Eleni, and Sandy Cruz from ESD and her team were also on that call. Mostly the negotiation, it became pretty clear as it went on that they were mostly rely upon their statistical model and their estimates. So there weren't any real big surprises. We knew that there were some fairly large gaps between what our model was showing for earnings and and historical levels, particularly for credential attainment was one area of worry for us. It also became pretty clear that they had a band within which they could negotiate. It was I thought that it went fairly well. We were able to get some wins. We lost in some places. I thought it was fairly cordial. In afterwards, I think if you go look at the website, you can kind of see where we might have had some differences. I think the areas of concern going forward are, again, probably particularly, I would say, the credential rate for dislocated worker and youth. If you take a look at that at the state level, you can see that our target levels are somewhat higher than our recent historicals. So I think that's everything I had to. Oh yeah, one other thing, in terms that it went pretty well, I really kind of appreciate the fact that I was afraid that we would get a lot of continuous improvement kind of talk and talk. Like in the past, they've often said, well, heck, you're Washington State, you're going gangbusters there, you ought to be doing better, and we didn't get a whole lot of that, so I appreciated that. Any questions on any of this, on the negotiations with the state to Department of Labor? If not, I will hand it off to Tare to talk about the second agenda item here, the local SAM estimates. Are you ready, Tare?
Yeah, can you advance the slide?
Sure. Oops, why isn't it advancing? There we go.
So Dave mentioned that we were a little bit apart from the Department of Labor model on the earnings, and our opening bids with Department of Labor was of an older model we had. The one we're going to talk about here is a newer one where we include some of the changes that Department of Labor instituted, and the one that kind of affected earnings was a independent variable that considered wages, overall wages in the state for the Department of Labor's sake, but in our case for the different areas. So that's included here in our new model, LSAM 24, which is what we call it. Another big change from past model is that we've gone away from participant level data in input to the model to aggregate data on local area. We also adopted the same mathematical specification as Department of Labor, which is an area fixed effect model. The data that went into this round was the annual reports from 19 through 22, so program years 19 through 22. And you'll see also in the same performance dashboard on our webpage, we put out a model estimate using PY 2022 data. And so you can see how this model looks. You'll find the same model estimate in a product that we put together called the Scenario Explorer. And this is sort of inspired by both a product that DOL put together called a negotiating tool, and some experiences that they did in Illinois. They put together a similar model as our product as DOL, but in going out with that, their local areas requested a way to play with the values going into the model. So let's say, percentages of women goes from 50 to 60. What is that going to impact the model? So this is what I want to show you today here. Let me just, if I get to share, Dave.
I think I'm gonna have to stop the PowerPoint. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you should be able to share now.
Okay. So this is our page for this with the performance dashboard again. And if you go to choose any local area, Spokane, say, not responding to me. Hang on. Again. Spokane, and then if you choose the series called LSAM 24, PY22 estimate, that point is going to show up here. At the bottom of this page, on the tools and methods, you'll find a workbook for every area called LSAM scenarios with the area name at the end. And I'll show you one of these right here. This is North Central. On the left here, you have all the covariates, variables, regressors, a lot of different names for the same thing. But you, on the first column after that, you have the regressor that went into the estimate you just saw on our dashboard. The next column with the green font is for you to play with. So say you want to look at women not being 56, but being 45. And you'll see this value changed, and then the sum up here changed. And this one here on top is employment second quarter estimate. And then you can compare it directly to the one out of the model with the P22, which was 81.5. So again, you can play with all these. You'll still have the one that we put into the model. This is the coefficient. This is our estimate, and this is your estimate.
Tari, we've got Tim Robinson with his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to clarify so if we have reason to believe that we think that one of those regressors should change, that's what we're playing with, and then we would try to justify that.
Yeah, I mean, you know us maybe better than us what is reasonable. So this
Right.
again this is for PY 2022 employment Q2. You could go back and see exactly what kind of cohort we're talking about right there, and then compare it to what you think would be reasonable expectations for, in our case now here, PY 24. You know, if you know there's going to be differences there, you might try to see what that's going to look like in this model. What is that going to do to the estimate?
Okay.
And
then we're specifically looking at PY 23, 24 estimates of what is going to impact these numbers. That's what you just said.
Yeah, we're getting ready to negotiate for PY 2024, PY 2025, right? So that's the two program years.
Oh, 24, 25.
Yeah. If you look at the years before that, we just did an assessment on 22. We have yet to do that one for 23. For 23, we still have the old model, but we could also use this model for assessment, but this is the one we will certainly be using for 24 and 25.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Will we be getting, do you plan on having the analysis for 2023 during our negotiation process?
That's not available yet.
Oh, because of the maturity of the data, is that why?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So 22 is the last the most recently available annual report.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
So yeah, the general structure of this, you have employment Q2 here, you have employment Q4, same idea. You have median earnings, credential rate, and measurable skills gain at the end here. We're looking at adults here. Next tab over is dislocated workers. Next one over is youth. Couple more notes on the regressors or the variables here. All of these are fairly straightforward. So you look at female, 56.2% for the PY 2022, age 25 to 44, 45.7%. So the interpretation is straightforward. It's about exactly what it sounds like. Some of the others are not as straightforward. So, for example, days in program has the suffix norm. That means we normalized it, which essentially it means taking the number of days in the program, subtracting the minimum across all areas, across all periods used, and dividing it by the difference between the max and an area for all areas. That gives you a number between 0 and 100%, or 0 and 1, if you will. If you want to play with that number, there is an additional workbook you need to consider at the very bottom here on the web page called Normalized Regressors. And let me show you how that works. So let's say we're looking at days in program, say. If you're not comfortable using this type of workbook with filters, we are happy to help you. So just give us a call. And let's look at North Central and employment second quarter. For adults, their median estimate was 170, with a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 590. The normalized is 27.9. So if you want to change this from 170 to, say, 250, the 41.6 is what you would be inputting into that scenario explorer. Is that clear? Any questions on that? Let's see, going back here. That's the wrong book. There's one more. There's one more product. I'm messing around a lot here. Let me see. There's one more product out on the webpage called LSAM 24 coefficients. If you are looking at a little bit more text about what these regressors are and what kind of Perl data elements they're drawn from, you'll find this here. There's 3 data tabs here, one for every program with the coefficients, as well as whether or not they are significant and what level. So in this case here, certificate, other post-secondary degree drawn from, that was not the right one, associate degree, drawn from Perl element 408 is 0.482 for employment Q2, and is significant at a 1% level. The dots mean that it's above 5%. Again, this is at the bottom of this of our page. I think that's it, Dave.
Okay. And again, we realize that this stuff is for a lot of folks probably a little bit mind numbing. And so we would encourage you to reach out to us if you, it's a tool for you. You don't have to use this. This is a tool for you if you want to kind of better understand how population, changing populations that you serve might change outcomes. And we're more than happy to kind of schedule sessions and walk you through it. in addition, one other thing that I kind of forgot to mention in terms of the state to DOL negotiations, one of the things that we learned, I don't know if you remember from the last go around 2 years ago, remember they put a minimum of 50% for our performance for measurable skill gain. What we realized was it wasn't just for measurable skill gain. That's the only place that it came into play. DOL has a standard that all outcome targets must be 50% minimum. So just wanted to add that. Any questions then before we go to the future? I guess that's you, Coral.
Okie dokie. Thank you so much. So the negotiations are just a meeting between y'all and Dave and Taria and I. And we will go ahead and schedule an hour, but I don't think we used up the entire hour at all last go round. So you will get some of your time back. And like Dave said, we're a resource. We want to be approachable. We want these to be cordial. And I have to say that I was in somewhat a whimsical mood when I made this PowerPoint presentation today, so enjoy. So we're going to schedule our negotiations for the 2nd and 3rd week of July. And just to note that there are 5 weeks in July this year. I'll be sending you an email with all of the information that I'm going to talk about. So don't feel as if you're going to need to write it down as we go through it. If one person from each WDA can either respond to the email I'll send or message me separately with 3 things. That is 1, the name of your WDA, the name and information of the people who I should include on the negotiating meeting invitation. And then 3 or more options for meeting time from the time blocks that are noted on the next slide and in the email that I'll send. The main scheduling will take place between the 8th and the 20th of July. However, we do have some time blocked out during the 4th week of July if an alternate time is needed. Just email me if none of the time blocks work for your team. Here are the time blocks we've set aside for the negotiations. We've got a variety of days and times, so hopefully you can find something that works. You're more than welcome to send me more than 3 options if you so desire, but we do need at least 3. Here is a preview of the email I'm sending out to you, so you can just fill it out. You don't need to reply all to Dave and Taria, but you can if you want to annoy them. We all need a little joy in our lives, right? Let's see. And Facebook reminded me that it's been 13 years since I graduated from grad school. And here is me and my student body friends with Daniel J. Evans. Daniel J. Evans is at the center, and I'm on the left there next to the trash can. Okay. So there we go. All good.
Right.
Does anybody have any questions? Awesome.
All right.
Actually, I do have a question. I'm sorry. This is Lisa in North Central. So for these meetings, will we have a starting jumping off place for negotiations, or will we just be starting from 0? We've kind of done this differently in past years, so just wanting to know what we should do to prepare.
By starting off, do you mean essentially like what we were calling an opening bid with the DOL?
I
A
guess.
number is what I'm asking.
Yeah, are you going to show, here's what we have as a starting place. Let's negotiate, or are we just going to start proposing targets that we think are appropriate?
Yeah, so what we have is the model estimates. So that's, I think, a fair place to start. You know, that's what we would consider the starting spot. Is that what you look sort of perplexed there, Tarye, or am
No,
I speaking out of turn?
no, no. I just want to say, so the model estimate and the past history is going to go into the discussion, and then I think when we put together those scenario books, our aim is to better understand how the model ends up on those estimates, and then for you to scrutinize those and say this is nonsense, this is okay, this is not good. Or so I guess I would want to see people coming and at least having taken a look at those scenario explorers and just kind of have an opinion about them and how well they describe what they see. That's what I would say. And I echo David too. The amount of numbers and data in these products are kind of mind numbing. So we're more than happy to take a one-on-one on those tools prior to these negotiating meetings. So if you need some help with us.
And if it would help, we could also send you, just the specific data points of what the model's telling us.
Okay, I think, yeah, either one of those is great. That's helpful for me to know where we're starting.
Okay.
So we'll let you know if we need your help. We might.
Okay. There's another hand there. Is that Rod?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. So, so on your scenario spreadsheet, Tarjay, where it across the top in green, it's got like a percentage. Is that the estimated targets that you would be essentially sending us then, or?
Yeah, those are the ones you'll find the same in our on our dashboard on our website.
Okay.
At least the one that is unaffected by the one you change. That depends on the one you changed, right? So, let's see.
But if we don't make any changes, that's kind of where you would, is that where you're going to suggest we start, or?
That's the Dave Wallace question. It's sort of like last time around, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, we sort of coined this model estimate as opening bid, didn't we?
Yeah, we were using that term.
And we were sort of talking about that now and not wanting to do that because we kind of realized that because that's sort of suggesting that the model estimate is going to be the sole source of our where we start, but we're going to want to look at past history too, not just the model estimate. I guess.
Yeah, and then
go ahead, Rod.
Yeah, well, it just gives us an opportunity to, factor into changes that we're undergoing with, impacts from other projects and programs that may change some of these demographics. It's kind of like reaching way back to JTPA where how you performed based on who you enrolled. And so this kind of gives us a target of where we think we're going to be enrolling. And then it will equate to a change in our, our target, hopefully, that's the case.
Yeah. So for example, let's say, for example, you anticipate the population serving going forward has maybe a higher percentage of persons with less than a high school diploma.
Right.
You can change that percentage and you can see how that would affect the overall estimate of say employment or, whatever the outcome.
Yeah. And then the normalized regression model that you had. So there's days in program and then average wages before participation and days enrolled. Those are the three categories that we can kind of play with or look at. Is that correct? Sorry.
Yeah. Just the average wages was not used for any of the indicators except for the earnings, as far as if I remember correctly. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
And am I correct in this, Tarye, that basically the idea with the normalize is that those are data variables that don't match the other data variables? Like the other data variables are typically, say, like a percentage,
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
percent employed, and so they don't match that, and that's why they have to be normalized and treated differently.
exactly.
Yeah, good. Well, I appreciate the tools and thanks.
Sure. Other questions? Well, we look forward to our one-on-ones coming up, and certainly if you have any questions, reach out to us. If you want to schedule a session, reach out to us. We're here, and we'd love to hear from you. And otherwise, we will post this meeting recorded, and please take a look at that website, the tools and whatnot that are there. And have a great day and get out and enjoy the weather if you have a chance.
Thanks. Bye.
Great. Thank you.
Yay. Yay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.